own long-term solution to what is currently being experienced by commuters today.
Federal Executive Council approves reconstruction of a major artery for socio-economic development in Lagos.
Kidnapping and armed robbery along Kaduna-Abuja highway. Police make major breakthrough.
This is the latest directive to ensure that new impetus is brought into the fight against criminality and other criminal activities along these highways.
President Buhari begins 10-day working holiday from Friday.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we focus on the integrated personnel and payroll information system and the fight against corruption.
It was the magic wand that addressed the persistent challenge of ghost workers, multiple receipts of salaries, and lack of accurate data on number of employees.
It was also the nightmare that turned into a boom, as it were, for corrupt officials that hitherto capitalized on the inadequacies of the old payroll system to embezzle public funds indiscriminately.
Of course, yes, Kingsley, and some of our audience may be wondering what we are referring to here, even though many must have known that we are talking about the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, popularly known as IPPIS.
You're right, Kiriana, especially those in the federal government employment who have now heaved a deep sigh of relief since about 2007 when the IPPIS was first introduced, although there were just a few ministries that were used as a pilot.
And about 500 MDAs, that's the ministries, departments, and agencies, are now on the platform, while a procedure for getting the few that are not on have reached advanced stage.
Now, the IPPIS is not only a relief to government and to employees, but also to third parties that receive deductions from salaries, as the system, that is the IPPIS, has eliminated the fraud of non or under remittance that previously characterized the old system.
And now the adoption of technology in personnel and payroll management, which the IPPIS represents, is also in conformity to international best practices, thereby projecting Nigeria in positive image.
However, it is not all bed of roses, Kirian. You know, there are still issues that are mainly attributed to human factors rather than the system itself. And experts say that those issues should be addressed.
So, how has the IPPIS impacted on the country's personnel and payroll management? Why are there still challenges with the system more than a decade after its commencement? Why are some agencies reluctant to join? We will, well, when the entire federal government workforce be on the platform, what are the plans for the future?
All right, now these are some of the questions that our guests will be providing in the course of our program, especially in the conversation segment. And it's on that note, I would like to welcome you to today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. It was wet overnight in the Federal Capital Territory. We don't know what the condition is in your location, but the land is green, Kirian.
Exactly, yes.
All right. My name is Kingsley Osadolo, and I welcome you to today's edition of the program, reaching you as always live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're Africa's largest TV network.
I am Kirian Umai, also thanking you for joining us on this edition of the program. And as usual, we have a companion segment which will include the newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and entertainment news. But first, let's take the news highlights of the day with Kehinde Olale. Kehinde, it's good to see you.
Good morning, Karen and Kingsley. Good morning and welcome to the news. The Federal Executive Council has approved about 73 billion naira for the reconstruction of major artery for the socio-economic development in Lagos State. It is the Creek Road that links Tinkan Island, Beachland Estate to the toll gate end of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, announced this while briefing newsmen after the council's meeting.
Left to do is 27.8 kilometers of 5 lanes both ways. That gives you 10 lanes, and that's how I arrived at 270 linear kilometers. This is our own long-term solution to what is currently being experienced by commuters today.
President Muhammadu Buhari is to begin a 10-day working holiday from Friday this week. A statement by Garba Shehu, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, says a letter to this effect has been transmitted to the President of the Senate and the Speaker House of Representatives. In his absence, the Vice President will be in acting capacity as President. Garba Shehu says President Buhari will be in London for the holiday. And the Senate leader, Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan, has made a case for the National Assembly to take the path of honor and reconvene towards dealing appropriately with some presidential requests critical to Nigeria. Senator Lawan stated this while speaking to journalists after leading some APC senators to a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari.
We have pledged our total commitment, loyalty and unflinching support to our party and the administration of Muhammadu Buhari. We will remain true and genuine representatives of our people. We are not going to do anything that is not in the interest of our people and this administration.
And the federal government has described the recent defection of the Senate President Bukola Saraki to the opposition PDP as a great relief to the governing party. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, stated this while addressing the State House correspondent after the Federal Executive Council meeting.
Deliberately slowing down the progress of the APC-led federal government. The delay in passing the budget year after year, delays in approving key appointments that could have made the government, more efficient.
The Nigerian police force have arrested 8 suspects in connection to the recent killings and robbery attacks along Abuja-Kaduna Expressway. First Public Relations Officer, Acting Deputy Commissioner of Police, Jimoh Moshood, while parading the suspect, affirmed that the force has strengthened its Operation Absolute Sanity on Nigerian roads.
This is an effort to achieve the operational crime prevention strategy of the force within Kaduna to Benungwari, to Funtua, to Kano, and all the routes. This to make more men available to these 3 mobile police squadrons in this state.
In a related development, the Nigerian Air Force says it will not be business as usual for armed bandits wreaking havoc in towns and villages in Zamfara State. This was made known by the Air Officer Commanding Special Operations Command, Air Vice Marshal Akpasa Okun, while assembling aircraft in Katsina State.
It's an air operation meant to flush out the criminals in Zamfara State and its environs, but we cannot take our assets there because we do not have a place to really land there and protect all of them. So Katsina happens to be the best place for that, and that is why we are here.
And that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Kieran after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and Presently, I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism and other criminal activities. Be productive, be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Your favorite Maggi star now wears a new look. Its great taste and quality still remain the same. With Maggi, every woman is a star. Maggi.
The Apostolic Church Nigeria, Lona Territory, presents 42nd Lona International Convention, coupled with the centenary celebration of the Apostolic Church Nigeria, between 4th and 10th August 2018 at the International Convention Grounds, Oworoshoki Ibadan Expressway, Lagos, Nigeria. Theme: the imminence of the Second Coming, Revelation 22:7. Ministry: Pastor Dr. E.S. Awujide JP, Vice President, the Apostolic Church Nigeria, and Chairman, Lona Territory. Pastor Dr. J.O.D. Ekele, Lona Administrative Secretary, and other anointed ministers of God. Announcer: Pastor C.D. Singo, Convention Committee Chairman, Pastor L.A. Ojo, Convention Committee Secretary.
The social media era has brought goodies to the society. Telecoms like our own dear indigenous Glow has brought us data to smarten our lives in today's smart world. Oh yes, but are you using the social media wisely? Or are you spreading sensation, half-truths and lies?
Na viral video nami atalam po alani. So if alani I got the spread and for viral message, that one nang asabian, it no concern me.
Viral videos is the title of this week's episode of Professor John Bull. Join us and laugh like never before.
Come 4 p.m.
4 p.m. is evening now. We're talking about afternoon.
Say who you say is evening.
4 o'clock, evening starts.
I don't know they've changed the time. Oh.
Nobody changed anything. It has been like that since I became a human being.
Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network. Glow Unlimited.
If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Nigeria and the network service of the NTA, and now time for business. Central Bank of Nigeria warns against defacing the Naira notes with a promise to release smaller denominations soon. Plus, Nigeria's Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index sustains expansion for the 16th consecutive month in July. Details on business news with Joy Uzo.
Welcome to Business News. The Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index (PMI) in the month of July stood at 56.8 index points, indicating an expansion in the manufacturing sector for the 16th consecutive month. It is 0.2 index points lower than that of the previous month. On the other hand, the composite PMI for the non-manufacturing sector stood at 57.7 points in July 2018, indicating expansion in the non-manufacturing PMI for the 15th consecutive month. The index grew at a faster rate when compared to that of June 2018. 16 of the 17 subsectors recorded growth. The employment level index in July 2018 stood at 55.0 points, indicating growth in employment level for the 15th consecutive month. And to the banking sector, the Central Bank of Nigeria has cautioned traders in the country against rough handling Naira notes, saying the law guiding the notes is still subsisting and violation would attract jail terms. The Apex Bank cautioned against squeezing, writing on the notes, and any form of handling that defaces the naira, which is also a national symbol. On the scarcity of smaller denomination in circulation, the CBN disclosed that it will soon sell smaller denomination naira notes directly to market men and women. And from the petroleum sector comes a report that oil theft losses from the Niger Delta region, estimated at about 3.8 trillion naira in 2016, is higher than the combined budgetary allocations to the education and health sectors for the year 2018. According to a report commissioned by the Nigerian National Resource Charter (NNRC), the combined allocations of both sectors amount to 189.4 billion naira, which is 8.4% of the total value of the losses experienced in the oil sector within the last 2 years. The report indicates that those losses arose from crude oil theft, sabotage, and pipeline vandalism, principally as a result of the force majeure declared at the Focados terminal, combined with wide pipeline infractions and thefts. In the light of the report, Oil Theft in Nigeria, the NNRC urges the federal government to address oil theft with the urgent attention it deserves and intervene with more effective action. Finally, a quick check on latest closing figures from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. That's it on Business News. Thank you for watching. I am Joy Uzo.
Thank you very much, Joy Uzo, for the business package. Next for us now, we'll take a look at the front pages of some of today's newspapers in our review segment.
Alright, it's time for newspaper review, and that will actually be done by Kisley and myself for this morning. And we have a number of newspapers here, but 5 of them, most of which are hitting political stories as it were. So if we start with the Daily Sun as headline, we have as Senate leader orders meet, Saraki must resign or Shomole blows out. Now, with a rider, PDP reps caucus alleges plan to impeach Saraki. And
yeah, it's also the late story for the Punch newspaper. You also have that story on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. But for the Punch newspaper, the story is as follows with a double-decker headline. Saraki must resign as Senate President, says Oshomole. And there are 3 riders to that. Tambuwal joins PDP, knocks Buhari and APC. Undume, Adamu Omoagege plotting Saraki's removal. That's according to PDP reps. Then Governor Aminu Tambuwal, what's next? That's the news analysis. And details of this can be found on pages 7 and 10. Now, the front page of the Punch newspaper also has a number of photographs, 4 photographs actually. The first photograph there, that's the first on the right-hand side at top. It says Sokoto Governor Aminu Tambuwal acknowledging cheers from his supporters after his defection from the APC to the PDP. That's in Sokoto. Below that photograph, members of the Bauchi Youth Organization holding a peaceful rally in Bauchi, holding a rally for peaceful polls in Bauchi. That also took place yesterday. Then to the left-hand side, in spite of the defections that you are hearing about, Kirian, says President Muhammadu Buhari during a visit to his campaign office in Abuja. That took place yesterday. That's presidential campaign office. And below that photograph is anti-Saraki protesters in Ilorin, Kwara State on account of the defection. Now, the Tambuwal defection story is second lead on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. And it comes below the photograph on the front page. It says Tambuwal dumps APC, returns to PDP. And you have a number of riders to that headline says, APC saddled Nigeria with bad governance. 18 of 30 assemblymen follow him to PDP. APC spokesman Bolaji Abdullahi, 23 Kwara lawmakers join PDP, and Kwara PDP chairman joins APC. That is cross defection. Women Affairs Minister resigns. That's on pages 4, 7, and 37. So, but I'm sure you have some of those things on the cross defection.
Exactly, but let's go to the Nigerian pilots, right? And below the nameplate, we have Saraki must vacate seats, says Oshomole. And the main headline on the Nigerian pilots is Tambuwal rejoins PDP. Well, with 4 riders here, says he rejoined party with clear conscience. Alleges low federal government presence in Sokoto since 2015. PDP now in opposition. Forward-looking. He slowed down APC's progress. We won't miss him, says Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information. The story is on page 4. Now, below the photograph there, where we have the president and other flanked by other APC members, PDP reps raise alarm over plot to impeach Saraki as APC senators surface at NAS complex. There are some striking stories below that at the foot of the Nigerian pilot. Election sequence, NAS floors federal government at appeal court. On page 11, appeal court orders arrest of INEC chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu for contempt. Now, Buhari leaves for London for 10 days of vacation. Now, stakeholders lament inability of governors to control security operatives over killings. That's on page 13. And of course, direct communication accuses MBC of plots to shut down AIT and Ray Power FM.
That's right. Before we discuss, let me also indicate that the Nigerian Tribune has as its lead story the decision of the appeal court on election sequence. And it comes with a kicker election sequence. Appeal court nullifies judgment stopping National Assembly and Saraki Lord's verdict. That's on page 2. Plus the other stories, as we have indicated, virtually on politics, and the court ordering the arrest of INEC chairman is also there on the front page. Okay,
let's also touch this new telegraph, and see how we can now do the further analysis on the stories. They are virtually the same. Above the nameplate of new telegraph, federal government sets to repatriate Nigerian prisoners in China. Okay's 727 billion naira for Apapa Road, Dangote to handle contract on PPP. It's very pertinent for us to look at this issue of Nigerian prisoners abroad, especially in China. Before that, let's just go through the rest of the stories on this front page. Yes, now Sokoto government, Tambuwal punches Buhari. Sokoto governor, party spokesman for 12 lawmakers dump APC. Oshomole says Saraki must resign as Senate president. The stories are on page 2, 5, and 12. And at the foot of the new telegraph, we have appeal court okays NAS to reorder poll sequence. Court orders arrest of INEC chairman over contempt.
All right, well, let's just begin with that last story with regard to the appeal court decision overruling the Federal High Court in Abuja, which had earlier held that the National Assembly, didn't have the powers, to reorder this election sequence, that those powers were vested in INEC. This is significant, but this is probably not the end of the story, because assuming the matter then goes up to the Supreme Court, then there will be the legal battles will continue. But if it were to remain as it is, then the question will arise. What happens to the electoral bill that the National Assembly itself had worked on? They had reworked it. There were some issues that the president had pointed out to members of the National Assembly. And the members of the National Assembly said, all right, fine, we had taken those issues into consideration, streamlined the president's own views with the National Assembly, and then dispensed with the issue of the election sequence, and said, now proceed. Now that the Court of Appeal says you have the powers, to order election sequence, will the National Assembly again recall the bill that they had passed and said that we're going to fix the election sequence? And we're having just only a few months left to the elections.
But what actually happened in the past with respect to the reordering, with respect to order of election. When did it become a big problem, or or puzzle, so to speak? Because the argument lasted for a long time. The decision of who really orders election. In the past, we have had INEC do that. That's right. But I wonder why the National Assembly was kicking in the first place.
Well, it's always been an issue amongst politicians on the basis of the permutations that they will make. That if you had one set of elections first, there you might create a bandwagon effect. As we find, in our recent history, that the president wins his election and nobody wants to be in opposition. So every other president, according to the. That's right. So now, that's the kernel of that.
Now, this issue of Nigerians imprisoned in so many countries is becoming a huge challenge, because first in China, for instance, I remember when last I visited China that we met some Nigerians in China who complained to us bitterly, about how Nigerians are incarcerated for simple offenses, right? And when you get in there, you don't come out easily. Yet they may not be prosecuted in the first place, but they remain in custody. But it will be a good omen, if federal government had now decided to repatriate some of them. I wonder what happened.
Well, I'm sure there would have been some consular intervention on behalf of the prisoners, who've been held in various China jails. But it's significant to also mention that obeying the laws and regulations of your host country is very important. It is not in every country you go to that you say, officer, I beg. Some of those countries, some of their officials will not listen to the beg thing. So if you abide by their rules, you are unlikely, to run afoul on the laws.
Now, the defection of the Senate President that took place yesterday has also been reported by all the newspapers for today. And the issue of remaining as Senate President, the Oshomole, the party chairman, says that he should honorably resign as Senate President. Does it conform with what the Constitution says?
Well, it was an issue we took on discussion segment yesterday. You were not available. We had another of our colleague, who was with me, Shehu was with me, and there are divergent views. The position of the Senate President is one that is defined or described as first amongst equals. He is chosen from amongst his colleagues, so it's the decision of his colleagues. But usually the preference is for the party that has the majority to produce that. But there is also a precedent. Some person had resigned in the past, had defected from one party to the other, and then retained the position. Not at the Senate level, by the way. But there's a story before we take the editorial. Something that we need to clarify. That's the president's impending vacation. The story is on the front pages. We have also had it on our bulletin that the president is off to London for 10 days. Now, there's some misconstruction. If you say that the president is going on a 10-day working vacation, it's different from when you say the president is going on vacation for 10 working days. Because if the president is going on a 10-day working vacation, then there will be no need for him to transfer the authority of the office of President, Commander-in-Chief, to the Vice President as acting President. But if you then say that he's going on leave for 10 working days, starting from the 3rd of this month, it means the President will not be expected back in office earlier than the 20th of August.
Well, I think it's a matter of semantics too.
No semantics.
Government is right. Well, from my own little understanding, on a working visit, perhaps there should be consultation, so to speak, in the course of the 10 days in question, because the vice president who took over the position as president, could be making consultations, and therefore for him it could be working, because by the time you consult and take decisions that borders on the governance of the country, you are also contributing even while on vacation. So
but Kieran, I agree with you, but 10 working days is not the same as being on vacation or working leave. That's right. Because if he's on the working leave, then he doesn't need to hand over.
All right.
Let's take a look at our editorial this morning, Kieran. And the editorial is from the Guardian newspaper. And it's on page 18. And it says, party discipline and the future of the republic. Again, a subject that is very current. And the editorial opens by saying that it's been a particularly tumultuous week in the history of Nigeria and the experiment with political parties. We have said that you have all kinds of things that are parties. are expected to have mechanisms for internal discipline, and a political party which lacks internal cohesion and discipline cannot successfully administer the state or the people, even if it succeeds in winning elections.
But basically, this has now become a recurring decimal in the history of Nigeria's politics, because defection has now become a key factor that is negating the principles underpinning the reasons for forming political parties. When party members can defect at any time, at any point, and proud for doing that, why is it that it is not the same story elsewhere, where democracy is practiced? Why has it, persisted? And people do it with some level of, that's a normal thing. And it's becoming normal. Yeah, it's a routine. Yes. And people can move from left to right, from right to left at will.
That's right. But okay, again, one of the issues we discussed earlier this week had to do with managing political parties, the challenges of managing political parties. I'm sure these are matters that will continue to resonate with us and indeed with our viewers and the polity in general. That's the much that we can take in our review segment today. We'd like to thank you. We're taking a short break now. When we return, of course, we'll be getting ahead with our conversation, which has to do with the Integrated Personnel and Payroll Information System, IPPIS, and the fight against corruption.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There is no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Madam. Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three
you are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah? I was
you take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made. Correct. And how they are cook it. Correct. Homegrown rice are good for your health. It will boost our economy and will give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
And to kickstart our conversation this morning, we're taking a background report put together by Abdul Malik Adio.
Conceptualized in October 2006 by the federal government as one of its reform program to enhance confidence in staff emolument cost, personnel records and budgeting, it took off its roots with 7 ministries. 11 years down the line, about 500 ministries, departments and agencies have come on board. The Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, IPPIS, has become a blessing, not a burden. This is obvious because the temporary hardship suffered by civil servants at inception has given them easy access to receive their monthly salaries without stress. Apart from making salary payment easy for federal civil servants, as and when due, it has also enabled government to have a vivid account of the number of employees on its payroll, consequently facilitating human resource planning, accurate recurrent expenditure, easy storage and updating of personnel record, eliminating ghost workers, multiple payment of salaries and other forms of embezzlement associated with the old system.
The commitment of the federal government to ensure that all agencies, all MDAs, all institutions, public institutions are on board the IPPIS so that we can tap to the extreme all the expected benefits that the platform is there to offer.
The fact that about 8 agencies control IPPIS makes it abuse difficult, thereby enhancing its integrity. Apart from reducing corruption, the system has facilitated best international practice in personnel and payroll management.
We used to receive funds on a monthly basis to pay our staff, but now it's going to be paid from the office of the Accountant General, and we have no fears because we know that we don't have anything to hide.
It will be an automatic salary for us instead of us to wait for several months, extra days. The government has promised one single day where everybody will be paid real time on time. So for us, it's a great benefit.
It is, however, not all bed of roses, as there are agencies resisting enrollment, which is slowing down the entire coverage of the workforce. Inadequate funding, infrastructural capacity, and other challenges are also cited as factors inhibiting the IPPIS. What does the IPPIS mean to the country? Why are some institutions against it? When will the entire Nigerian workforce be enrolled in it? How has it saved Nigerians billions of naira? Guest on Good Morning Nigeria will answer this and more shortly.
All right, thank you very much for that background report. We have 4 guests with us in the studios now to discuss this issue in further detail. Just before we introduce our guests, Kieran, I was wondering, this payroll issue and the manipulation of the payroll has been around for several decades.
Yes.
I recall, it's about 50 years ago, if you were especially during the Civil War and immediately after the Civil War, there was one motorcycle that came out then. It was known as Honda 175. 175. So it was called pay and roll. If you were pay and roll, then you could afford it.
Yes.
175. Pay and roll 175. About 50 years ago. Yes. All right, now let's bring in our guest who will be discussing this issue, as we said, in greater detail. First, we'd like to welcome Mr. Olufeyinti Olusegun. Mr. Olusegun is Director, IPPIS Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. Mr. Olufeyinti Olusegun, pleasure to have you with us on the program. Good morning, sir. Also here with us in the studios, we have Mr. Shuaibu Idris. He's a financial analyst and management consultant at Timeline Consult Limited. Mr. Idris, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, sir, and thank you very much for having me.
All right, Kieran.
Yes. And we have the pleasure also of welcoming Abdul Salam AIG, the AIG in charge of accounts and budget, first headquarters, Abuja. It's my pleasure to welcome you once again to the program. And also, Cornelis Adeoye is a consultant on IPPIS. It's nice to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, in addition to the background that we just listened to, and I'm sure our viewers also listened to, let's get a sense from Mr. Olusegun what the IPPIS is all about, because it's been on for some years now. There are some ministries that began, the pilot scheme, and still there are reports that it is not all the MDAs that are on the IPPIS. What is the IPPIS all about?
Yeah, I think that is the key essence of being here today, to disabuse the mind of the public the essence of integrated personnel and payroll system, information system, IPPIS. The essence of having IPPIS, I need to go to when this thing was conceptualized. About 7 MDs were asked to give the personnel strength of the MDs. They gave 55,000. The World Bank assisted, when they started, we discovered that we have only 38,000 as against 55. That was how the World Bank assisted us to have to extend it from the 7. We have to push in another 11 MDs. What is the essence? The essence is to save cost, to centralize the personnel payroll payment system of the federal government. One, to ascertain the actual strength of the federal government workers. For every year you are budgeting, if you ask MDA to produce their staff strength, it keeps changing. So then the federal government now felt there should be need to have a system that at a press of a button, you can ascertain the actual staff strength of the federal government. And at the same time, the issue of storage and updating of data is very key for manpower planning and budgeting. So these are the major key essence. And at the same time, we need to plan. If you don't know the personnel cost, how would government be able to plan? So these are the key objectives of IPPIS. So along the line, there are things that are incidental that will come up. You get to know that, probably it's all like Nigeria, as the situation say, you don't know the number of people. But by the time you come on IPPIS, you discover that maybe the figures MDAs are claiming are not the same, because it has to do with the actual number of people. So, and it has assisted the government to enable them do what we call cash plan. In the past, we have to borrow money even from CBN at an interest, even from commercial banks, borrowing government money, because the government money is scattered all over the commercial banks. We borrow our money, we pay interest to even pay salary. But this time around, the government is not doing that kind of thing. So now, at every point in time, the moment the payroll is generated, you know the actual cost, the personnel cost of the government. To the essence that now in personnel budgeting, the budget office and the National Assembly, for MDs that on IPPIS, they are quick to actions. We just give them the figure. So it facilitates the personnel budget.
Okay. Well, okay, thank you. Let's go to Cornelius, who happens to be a consultant on IPPIS, because you must have been very much acquainted, with the mechanism and the structuring of IPPIS, of which the result is what Olusegun Olufeyinti has just analyzed. Now, tell us, what is the strength of this IPPIS, and why is it necessary in your understanding?
Basically, what we have in place is a very robust and secure system, because when you're looking at over 500 MDAs on the platform, so you need to have a system in place that can do automatic calculation, automatic management reporting, executive reporting. Like what my director said earlier, if the National Assembly is asking us today, how many police officers are on the IPPIS, we can tell them at the click of a button. How many are civilians, how many are medical officers. And the system has over 30 salary structures in place. When you look at, we have a situation where we have agency any more than other agency. With the system, you can program it in such a way it can give you accurate payroll. And when you look at have to do your remittance to FRS, PA Asuyan Tax, National Housing Fund. The system has the capability to do all this calculation with ease, as opposed to when you have many agencies doing their calculation the way they see fit. But the system is using the Salary and Wages Commission pay scale to do all the calculations. So the government is having accurate personnel costs at a click of a button, and also in terms of remittance to third party, we have people with pension issues at the end of when they exit the system. We can give them their calculation of how much they contributed so far. So in terms of benefit, it enhances transparency, it enhances accountability for the government.
All right, thanks. Let's bring in Shuaibu Idris here, who's a financial consultant. Give us a sense of your understanding of the IPPIS and how has it moved away from the old order, and what have been the major advantages in addition to what Mr. Olusegun had indicated?
Thank you very much, Kingsley. I used to head the Human Resources Department of Dangote Group at a time, and as at that time we had about 21,000 staff. I will leverage from that experience. I think, if anything, the federal government of Nigeria has taken the right step to leverage on technology with a view to addressing some of the issues or challenges that this country have had over the years. Historically, we've had, periods when several ghost workers were on payrolls and government was paying, one person maybe 10, 20 times. That person goes into the bank and collect the money. And I think, if anything, fundamentally, apart from what the two gentlemen have said, Colonel Olu and the other consultant, is we now have a mechanism where instead of manually preparing payroll, now computers do the job for you, and all errors are therefore reasonably, prevented. You can't say 100% there will not be error because the computers could be manipulated by human beings. And I think much more than that is the issue Olu did address, the issue of cash management, a situation where we have had commercial banks keeping government monies in their own account, and government comes back through the back door to raise, not the back door per se, but through the central bank to raise treasury bills and borrow money from the same commercial banks, the same money that the government has kept in the banks, and we pay interest. I think, if anything, is a criminal act that this nation have had to pass through. And with this IPPIS, together with the TSA, I think we are having now a fairly effective and efficient liquidity management and treasury management, to which, we will say a very big kudos to the government that started this IPPIS, particularly during the tenure of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who first introduced the IPPIS in Nigeria. And I think finally, there are certain challenges that I think we need to look at, and maybe subsequently we'll come into that, but I would like to introduce that aspect. With the centralization of payroll payment, how efficient is the mechanism of introduction of new staff into the system? There are challenges, and I think the consultant and the director should have to begin to look at that aspect.
All right, there are challenges which of course we are going to dissect in the course of this conversation. But now we have the AIG in charge of accounts and budget, force headquarters here in Abuja. Now, Nigerian police could be said to be one of the government establishments that had to grapple with the issue of multiple payment and the ghost workers in the past. And now you are in the IPPIS arrangement. Now, could you let us know what that has done to, of course, change the course of history of the Nigerian police with respect to payment of salaries and other operations?
Thank you. The Nigerian police has been preparing for this IPPIS for some time now, in terms of training the personnel, involved in terms of sensitization, enlightenment of the personnel too. We saw our own as peculiar in the sense, if you go by the size of the police, the spread, and the peculiarity of the salary structure. In fact, these were issues we brought to the attention of the IPPIS office a long time ago. The issue of ghost workers, I won't say there was something that had limited to police per se. Of course, going by our spread, going by the 42 locations where personnel salaries are paid, there could be challenges, but not in terms of attaching ghost workers to police per se. There has not been anything established to that effect as I'm talking to you. There could be rumors to that effect, there could be assertions to that effect, but there is no proof to that effect. Records of police are available in budget office of the Federation. When salaries are prepared, when budget is prepared by names. Names of the personnel are there, the number there, everybody there, rank structure there. So if you have issue of, are you not supposed to be there, you go to that submission and see who is not supposed to be there. That has not been established. In any case, we have been going for training and exercising our personnel for a long time now. And when these things came up, we expected some problems. We brought it to the attention of IPPIS even before the commencement because of the issues or reasons I've earlier told you. But when we come to issues of challenges and maybe how to address those issues, we'll come for that to explain them.
Okay, thanks a lot, AIG Iyaji. Back again to Mr. Olufayeti Olusegun, who is director of the IPPIS office. How many MDAs are on the platform now? That's to say the IPPIS platform. And which are those that, the big ones, for instance, that are still to come on board?
Yeah, you know, the major MDAs that are currently on IPPIS, we have about 494 MDAs. Then plus the Nigerian police. Then we have that is the paramilitary, which is the immigration, the civil defense, fire service, and prisons. So we want to say precisely that this we have just, they've been payroll and they are being paid currently on the IPPIS. Then we are on the verge of going to the field. You will have heard about the sensitization of the military. You know, at the initial stage, quite okay when this concept was conceptualized in 2006, and the first people who came on board on April 2007. You know, there have been resistance from the MDAs. There have been maybe inadequate funding, government have not really given attention. Everybody, you know, something that everybody resists change, which is quite natural. So until the inception of this government, and then you will know that the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, which is President Muhammad Buhari, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, in the budget speech of 2018, emphasized and mentioned it that the military, the police, everybody should get involved. And without singular presidential order, we have enjoyed the support of each and every MDAs. And police too have been very supportive. Then the military, the only people that are left now is the tertiary institutions, which we're already having discussion with them. Even the colleges of education are in a hurry to say, please, they should come on board. We'll be having talk with them, the same thing with the polytechnics. So then we hope before the end of the year too, the universities, these are the people left. But already we already have discussion with them, they are coming on board. And most of the resistance in the past is no longer there because we have a government support. And part of the achievement of IPPIS is the fact that the one I could say precisely was, even as of last year, 2017, we observed that towards the end of the year, we generate, and look, people will notice that in 2016, there was a budget cut of 6%, which affected the personnel cost of most MDAs. Towards the end of the year, you discover that some MDAs have run into negative which means that the money provided in the budget was not adequate for their personnel costs. Because as a result of IPPIS, we were able to generate data from March to estimate that these people might likely have a negative balance. So we were able to provide such information to the budget office and the Ministry of Finance to quickly make provision for such, and money was provided from the service-wide vote to enable us accommodate. You could see those are the kind of things that the Auditor General mentioned, that Accountant General have overpaid salary. There was no way you could overpay salary because we paid 12 months. So those are the kind of money that were paid to those MDA that have shortages in their district.
When you talk about MDAs on the IPPIS platform, you've talked about the military, whom you are just sensitizing now, the police are on board, plus paramilitary. There are also some specialized MDAs, Foreign Service, for instance, CBN, NNPC, all those ones also on IPPIS?
For now, you know, these are independent. For now, the federal government are focused on those MDAs that are taking their personnel costs from the Nigerian budget. For every MDA that is receiving their salary from the Consolidated Revenue Fund are being catered for. You know, these are the executive arms of government. So, you know, all these things cannot be done. Just every MDAs could not be covered of a sudden, because those independent MDAs like the NNPC, they are self-accounting. So government do not budget for their salaries. But for every MDAs that are receiving their remuneration from the Consolidated Revenue Fund are being uploaded into IPPIS for now, as if under the phase 3 that we are currently. Based on the advantages that government have enjoyed, like in 2017, like I said, you know, towards the end of the year, we have about 75 billion SS, which is savings that we derive from some MDAs. And we have some MDAs, about 8 billion, that have negative balance, that will not be able to pay their salary at the end of the day. But because of the savings that we were able to accrue from IPPIS personnel costs, so it was easy for the government to provide the 8 billion from the excess of 75 billion. Ordinarily in the past, the 75 billion would have been exhausted by the MDAs without returning a dime to the government coffers. And those MDAs that have shortages of 8 billion will have come forward to request for the salary to be paid. And the government will have paid the 8 plus 75 billion. Ordinarily, which means the government will have lost about 83 billion. But as a result of IPPIS, the moment 8 billion was taken from 75 billion, then we still have about 67 billion that went back to CRF. So because MDAs could not access it.
Okay.
So that I can precisely tell you that money is available for government to be used for other capital projects. So you see, this is the beauty of IPPIS.
Okay, thank you. Let's return to Cornelius, who is a consultant. Now, whenever there are new entrants into the workforce of this country, and that of course involves ministries, departments and agencies, there is this usual delay in capturing the new entrants, and another delay in the payment of their salaries. Some will work for like 3 months or more before IPPIS will be able to pay them. So what is the cause of this?
I think before we enroll any new agency on IPPIS, we have to do their biometric capture, which means we take their fingerprint, all their personal details, their employment details and bank details, and we go through a rigorous process of validating those records. We have to take their fingerprint through the solution we call biometric IPPIS, that's automatic finger identification system, to make sure they are not enjoying salary in another MDA, so we can filter out those that are duplicates within the system. So once we do that, we can, if we identify any anomalies, we need to correct that. We need to write to the MDA to confirm that, okay, let us know, or invite this employee to say, why are you in MDA 1 and MDA 2? We have a scenario where we have to refer cases to EFCC. If we have a situation like that, we have someone in MDA, because under the civil service rule, you are not allowed to be in 2 MDAs at the same time. So once we do all this pass through the rigorous process, we have to create what we call a trial payroll, which we will forward to the MDA. Mind you, the employee has already been engaged. So during this process, we still need to validate. During the validation process, the MDA will have to check to confirm that these employees are still in the service. So you can look at the timeline that we keep on working through the process. Once they confirm that they are our employees, then we cannot create them on the system properly. And once we created them on the system, then you can look at the timeline that it's going to be like 2-3 months before they can get their salary. But what we do that for is to ensure that we are not paying anyone that does not deserve to get salary at that point in time.
I think in major addition, like most of the people that are affected are the one being employed by the Nigerian Civil Service Commission. You know, we have stakeholders as part of IPPIS. Office of Accountant General alone is not the only stakeholders. The Nigerian Civil Service Commission, they are stakeholders. Most of those challenges we have has got to do with those employment done at that end. Because by the time they forward such names to us, you know, they employ for all the MDAs, and the staff are not likely to resume at the same time, and your salary start counting from the date of your resumption, not the date you got the employment letter. Even if you accept the employment letter, it's the day you resume at your MDAs.
The employment letter carries date.
And it carries date, but the day you the employment letter does not carry the, they ask you to accept the employment. So then you are posted to an MDA to go and resume, and the MDA has to confirm that the actual staff have resumed. So most of the times you see, like I know of recent the Honorable Minister of Finance approved funds for the Nigerian Civil Service Commission to ensure that even the capturing should be done at the point of engagement, such that we can only create at the IPPIS in Accountant General when the employee has actually resumed and the MD has confirmed that this particular employee has resumed. We forward such names to the MDA to confirm if the actual staff have resumed.
No, I asked this question because one would have thought that since it's technology driven, that the long period of 3 months, 4 months will have been too much.
No, it's not really. That's why I told you those ones that are actually where the MDA is employed directly. It doesn't within 1 month they get their salary. As long but the moment we capture, we create, we forward the names for the MD to confirm if actually the people that were captured are actually their staff, to corroborate and confirm, to ensure that nobody in between comes in.
All right, thanks. Mr. Schwalbe Idris, earlier, Mr. Olusegun was talking about some 494 MDAs that have now joined the IPPIS platform, and yet there are still
42 police commands and 4 paramilitary, fire, immigration.
Just hold on a second.
Yes, sir.
You said there were 494 MDAs that are on IPPIS. Now, which are the other additions that you have in addition to 494? You're talking about police, immigration.
Police, yeah.
And the
tick them off. Let's
the paramilitary now.
If you know the paramilitary, which is 4. If you add that 4, that would be 498 plus the police. So about 42 commands of police are currently.
No, are those commands treated as individual entities?
No, we treat police as a single entity and just 5. You adding that would be 499.
499, one short of 500. Yes. All right, my question goes to Mr. Schwalbe Idris. Mr. Schwalbe Idris, nearly 500 MDAs and paramilitary entities are on the platform, and yet there are still reports of ghost workers still lingering around in the payroll system. Occasionally they get busted. What probably is happening?
Kingsley, I think to say the least, as at today to have 499 MDAs on the IPPIS, to my mind, is certainly not a pass mark. This is a system that we started in 2006 and we are in 2018. 12 years after the commencement of this scheme, we are still not having a 100% capture. I will link myself to a Nigerian position. Technology, this is something that you can do in 1 second. you touch a button, a message can be sent to the moon, not just within the context of a country called Nigeria. I think we need to move a little faster. On the issue of ghost workers, I think one obvious thing that the office of the head of service of the Federation needs to do is to probably take a holistic look of the structure of each MDA. The structure of each MDA, meaning, in HR parlance, we have what we call an organogram. An organogram of an institution, gives you on a pictorial look of, what position do you have, how many people do you need to occupy this position or that position. Unless otherwise, the system does that, the IPPIS may not be able to completely, eliminate, the issue of ghost workers. Like I did say, computers were man-made and are still being man-made. Computers are operated by human beings, and the human beings can decide to be manipulative of the mechanism and therefore introduce ghost workers without necessarily, the system detecting them. Yes, of course, if I am Shuaibu Idris and I'm a policeman, I probably won't have another Shuaibu Idris as an immigration officer with the same fingerprint. Those kind of things the system can detect. But if another Shuaibu Idris, say from the moon, comes in and his fingerprint is taken, the system will not be able to detect that. So that way, the system is still not, fraud-proof per se, as long as we do not have an organogram that, clearly spell out, the quantum of staff each MDA has. Of course, it is not the responsibility of Ajoye or Olusegun to probably detect all those, because they sit down in Abuja, they get data from all over the parts of the Federation, and they will only be able to use what information they get. So they also have some limitation in terms of their ability and capacity to be able to checkmate some of the abuses that we still see.
All right, Kesley, with this aspect, that you raised, there are challenges, invariably there are challenges, and the police is already keen into IPPIS, right? And just some weeks ago, we had this issue of some policemen not paid. One would know the reason, but what I want to ask you is that because IPPIS is automated, it's an automated system. Yes. So why would that happen? That some section of the police were not paid, and they complained about that.
That's so.
In fact, they also complained about underpayment or short payment.
That's so. That is part of the challenges we shall now address. You see, when IPPIS was coming on board, we had a lot of training and foresaw issues that will eventually come. We pass some of this information to the IPPIS office. One, peculiarity of police salary structure is different from the normal civilian salary structure because of some peculiar allowances that are paid to some of our specialists. You have the pilots, you have the medical personnel, you have the others in that category. So they started a pilot scheme in 2017, August to be specific, in 8 commands. After the payment of those personnel in those 8 commands, issues came up. Overpayment, omission of names. I mean, short payment, of course, there could be some elements of overpayment, some locations equally. Complete omissions of names, and allowances of personnel, those specialists especially, were not given. So we now brought this to their attention so that they could perfect all this before they enroll the remaining formations, 32 formations, 34 formations remaining. By February, all the 34 remaining formations were enrolled at a go. And that can tell you compounded the existing complaints, because in addition to solving the existing ones, new components were added. I can attribute it to one, omission in capturing details of some of these personnel, especially the specialists. 2, infrastructural capacity. Some of the personnel captured, even though with their IPPIS certificate, were not found on the system and they were not paid. We later discovered that it was the system was corrupted and their names were deleted. So that even though they had the IPPIS number, their names could not be found. So we had to go back again, calling for such omissions, and then bringing them to IPPIS to recapture, and then...
And that was ameliorated?
Yes.
Sorry, please. Yeah. What could be the cause of this?
What?
Okay. I think
I just want to say something.
No, you can. Go ahead.
You see, like you rightly asked, when we talk of 494, we are treating police, each command, as a separate entity. But when you look at the number of police, like in Lagos, we could talk about 19,000. Some each command group over 8,000, which is more than some, even 5 MDAs, some MDAs combined together. But the issue of even the consultant will have mentioned that we have different tactics salary structures. All the teaching hospitals in Nigeria, at least out of 52 hospitals we are paying over 50, and the remaining 2 are being captured as I'm speaking with you now. We have medical doctors, we have pharmacists, we have consultants. Agree there are challenges at the initial stage. And you see, government is continuous. And challenges are bound to happen. And they have to be addressed because, you see, the issue is that even people at times, people feel that, oh, this thing is not feasible. All along, all the while, for over 5 or 6 years, they will say they will capture police. People felt it's not going to be a reality.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Olusegun. The question is this.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, the AIG has explained what the challenges that came up. Just hold on a second. Yeah. The challenges that came up on account of the question asked of my colleague. Why did those challenges come up? I'm asking Cornelius now. Why would names be omitted? Exactly. And if you know that the police is on the salary or has different salary structures, why would those details be captured? In preparing the IPPIS? Now, let Cornelius respond to this, so that you can also chip in. Why? Why is this so difficult? This would appear to be human errors or human input challenges. Okay.
Thank you very much for the question. When we're talking about omission, we have those that are human error, and you can attribute to people handling the system. For example, we have a scenario where some police did not come for capture at all. And if you don't come for capture at all, you can't be payrolled. That's number one. And the second issue where you're talking about people captured but not payrolled. If we capture you on IPPIS, the way we pay on IPPIS eventually is we have to match the name. Okay? So if your name is Cornelius Adeoye on the nominal roll, you cannot be Cornelius Adonis Adeoye, but we want to pay you because we want to make sure we pay the right people. So that can result to what we call failed payment, and those ones we are addressing them. And we have situation where people are captured, and at the point they were captured, they were single, but now they are married. So when we want to payroll them, their name on the nominal roll is different from what we now have when we get to the bank. So we can pay those officers. And
what do you mean? That's for female? Or?
For female. For female. For example, if you're married now as a female, you've changed your name. So we need you to come with your proof of change of name, your marriage certificate, affidavit that you have changed from this name.
Okay, sorry, please. Let's, for the benefit of our viewers, when you say we need you to come, if you are in Maiduguri, for instance, do you have to come to Abuja with the change of name or particulars? Okay,
thank you. What we do, we have the police ask for the 2 commands, and within those 42 commands, they have their payroller, their CFO. So we have relationship with them where they bring forward all this information, and when they bring this information, we can process them within the system. And once we process them, change the details to their marital name. In that case, they cannot be paid properly. And even over the past few months, we know what we did in IPPIS is to have a help desk center for the police officers that are affected. So some come because of short payment, and we look at the reason for that short payment. Some are genuine, because at the time we went out to the field to capture the officers around the country. Some were in a lower grade. Maybe they were sergeant then. By the time we migrated them to IPPIS, they've been promoted to an inspector. So as far as we are concerned, in IPPIS, they were still sergeants until.
How could that be? Shuaibu Idris, I would like you to chip in here. Listen, is it the business of an officer to be chasing his promotion payments from one desk to another, as you had in the old system? If you have a computerized system, let's face it. I mean, if as the police officer is here, AIG is here, this could actually relate to several other persons who are not necessarily military or paramilitary. Of course, the military is coming on board. If an officer has been promoted, the record should be there in human resources, and then you find it along the line. I would like you to respond to this.
Honestly, Kingsley, thank you very much for this question, because I'm getting, you know, too hot for this. It's probably clearly there is fraud there. No two way about it. Yesterday, I did speak with a staff of the federal government who is a director of personnel in one of the agencies, and he did say to me they even have issues that they need staff and they need to drop envelope on the process of getting people to be captured. Let's face it. Hold on. Let's face it. You know, technology. If chief finance officers or the head of finance, director of finance in an agency is working in sync with director of personnel of the agency, how long will it take Aisha Muhammad, who is changing her name to Aisha Shuaibu? Why will it take 1 month? Why will it take more than 48 hours to do that with technology? Why should that be an issue? The AIG did say names that were captured got omitted. Why should it happen? You've taken my biometric, you've gotten my data, and you are saying, you know, you come to pay and my name is not there. Then there has to be a holistic review of the backbone on which this system, you know, is resting. And much more than that, just 1 second, Kirian. What is the robustness of this system? How efficient, how effective, how foul-proof is it? Where is this data stored? Is it in the cloud? What is the disaster recovery? What exactly is happening? Yeah. Can you imagine if there is a virus that infects this system and the entire data gets destroyed? I mean, these are serious issues.
And I was going to ask
we can't be joking with people's lives.
Sorry, sir. Whether this borders on infrastructural incapacity, or do you have the robust setting? Because for virus to attack your system successfully, it's questionable, because of course you should have antivirus in the system. He is the professional. He is the I understand, but what we have here, he happens to be the consultant. So I'd like him to take on that question.
Okay, thank you very much, I'm pleased to let you know that we've never had any virus attack on our IPPIS platform. We're running on one of the biggest databases in the world, that's Oracle ABS. And it's a very secured system. You can have human error, but in terms of the system, it's very robust. We've never had attack. And also to talk further about the omission. You know, in system, when you is garbage in, garbage out. Okay.
Just put it in the garbage.
Basically, you have we have scenarios of lower cadre officers that come for the.
So there could be human errors.
No, we have let me just give you a specific scenario. We have personnel of staff coming for capture, for example, during the police exercise, because they are not patient enough to complete the process. And if you don't save the record at that point in time, maybe due to one reason or the other, and they have not completed the process and signed it off, we will not save it in the system. In that case, they have not been fully captured. And we have scenarios, just talk about the short payment as well, that we have a level 14 officer coming, and it's filling level 4. And even if you check this something, you have seen that you are level 4, you haven't checked it properly, and you've left the scene. So we will pay you as level 4 instead of level 14. So it's two ways.
All right. Just before we bring in the AIG, I mean to talk about this. If you had sensitized your men and officers to get ready for this, why would it be that they are supposed to go for data capturing, and as Cornelius is alleging, they sometimes would appear impatient to go through the entire hog. They don't sign off and they take off. Do you have such experiences?
Thank you. If somebody is given IPPIS certificate of capture, it means you have painstakingly undertaken the processes, because they don't give you. If you are patient and you didn't complete the process, they don't give you. In any case, if somebody is on scale 14 and he wrote 4, for everybody to be captured, you will bring your last pay certificate accompanied by your last statement of account with the salary of scale 4 tally with salary of scale 14. That gives you, whoever is the person capturing, that something is wrong with this you're capturing, and ask question and sort it out. What is the obvious there is, if you take 494 MDAs captured before bringing police on board, so I had, and the population was maybe something above 300,000. I may not be exact, I'm just okay from what I read. So I can say that the strength of the police added to IPPIS now will likely form over 40-something%. So why, in view of the magnitude, the strength, the location, the peculiarity of police, why don't you create a special unit in IPPIS to manage police? Knowing that for the past how many years we have been capturing a little above the strength of police. Why will you do this? So by so doing, there are obvious challenges, issues that are coming up, and the existing capacity.
I think part of this
increase significantly.
We're going to have a break in a short while. You know, we'll return to some of these issues that we're raising. But I think it's important that we look at what Nigerians are saying about those who are watching this program, what they are saying, their own contribution to this conversation. And the first one I have is Dele Mejabi. Well, I hope I got that correctly. There is need to make concerted efforts to check the activities of some unscrupulous persons who may want to frustrate the IPPIS as part of their plot to ensure that corruption continues to thrive in the government agencies. This the federal government must not fail to do.
Pastor Richard tweets, now IPPIS is a good initiative but has been badly managed. Many workers have been having their salary cut since February 2018 to date. Some are working but not receiving salary, particularly in the police. That's also corruption.
Adamu Umar 37, it is very good. It is a very good development for Nigeria, but why some of organizations that are already on IPPIS are getting delay in having their salaries?
Now, Lomo Tamedu tweets, IPPIS response to complaints is very poor. There has been a series of constant deduction from our salaries since we joined and no response for almost a year. Please, let's have IPPIS social media handle, especially Twitter account.
From Japan Godwin, to be honest, IPPIS has been bad luck to us. When IPPIS came on board, we were all happy that at least our salaries will stabilize and be uniform in the whole federation, but reverse is the case. I want to ask Mr. Olusegun a question. Why is police salary not uniform?
And this is from Victor Oyoswoma. Now, the introduction of IPPIS is very commendable. It's a proactive mechanism to fight corruption. Nigeria has lost billions of naira to the phenomenon of ghost workers. It should also be introduced to the states. Now, the system should continue to be upgraded to enhance its workability. Of course, we run the federal system, and it is for the states themselves to carry on to have their own IPPIS system. We can have
it's high time.
Yes, that's right.
Now, Eddie Monto, can IPPIS stop politicians from stealing, considering political differences? So look at the realignment that is going on. Some greedy personality.
All right, well, that's almost
out of place.
It's out of place. It's irrelevant to the current conversation. Farouk Mutana tweets, now when integrity raids cats and dogs in the economic arena, it floats out all the dustable substances that obscure the illumination of the scintillating star. I'm sure this guy is just playing around with words this morning. IPPIS is a policy, as a policy alone cannot forestall corruption without the integrity of the policy implementers.
Very key. And Alps Sadarawi, IPPIS is indeed a remarkable achievement in Nigeria, aside from illegal deduction of some little amount which needs to be looked into. Mr. Olusegun should please explain why staff pay slip cannot be sent to their respective emails instead of the hard copy.
That's right. That's a pertinent question. I hope that, gentlemen, you are noting the questions that are relevant to you. Now, Owo 77 tweets, what we need in Nigeria to make anything work is integrity and faithfulness to our country, Nigeria.
All right, now from Pastora, he says those policemen and women who have their salaries cut, some of them went to Abuja to rectify the anomaly, but the one cut have not been paid back up to date. Who is responsible for that?
Now, I saw Oladimeji tweets. Good topic. Please, can we have IPPIS desk officer representing each of the 499 MDAs? We don't have any IPPIS representative we can lodge complaints with at the Federal Fire Service. All right, if we're not having a break, our director is not indicating that we have a break. Maybe. All right, so we're taking a short break now. When we return, we'll give the opportunity to our guests to respond to these issues and then take some more questions.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words. Run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Hold it! Me! I don't come out my hand from oil bunkering.
General, what you gonna yarn? What did the yarn serve? I don't understand though.
Because they spoil our water and our environment. And they cause our people serious harm. Militants said, you know good. Me! I not do again Sam. Because why? Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
And now we are back again for the okay.
All right, carry on. Well, that's all right. Yeah, that's fine. We're back again. We're back again on there. We'd like to thank you for being with us. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Just before we went on that short break, there were the tweets that we read out on the matters arising, plus, of course, the comments made by the other guests. We'd like to bring in Mr. Olusegun now to respond to those issues. With regard to the tweets that came in and the matters embedded therein, there was a point that the AIG was making, and that point tended to relate to capacity. Is the IPPIS office sufficiently staffed with also competent hands to handle the volume of work that is dealing with at the moment?
Yeah, and that's sort of in addition to what he has asked. Yes. You know, some of his tweets said constant deductions and non-payment of the deducted ones. Right, so jointly you can take all that. You know.
Yeah, I think at this level, I need to allow Nigerians to know the facts as it is. Prior before the police came on board, the National Housing Fund is 2.5% of your basic salary. Police were not deducting that percentage. They were deducting 400, 500, 600 as against 2.5%. You see, the moment they came on the IPPIS board, the system is designed to deduct 2.5% of National Housing Fund. Those are part of the short payments that people, and the tax on the IPPIS is the universal tax. As I'm speaking, the president and all the ministers and all the special advisors, they are on IPPIS. We pay the president and commander-in-chief and the vice president, everybody's on IPPIS. And we have uniformity on IPPIS.
Uniformity of what?
Uniformity of tax, national housing fund, whatever thing affects the whole system is the same. So, but before now, I can precisely tell you that police, even when we finish the whole capturing, when we did the analysis, about 8,644 police that might not likely get their money as a result of the differences in the names in the banks and the name in the payroll were forwarded, because we knew from day one that these names people will not get, so that they can have, if your name changes, if you have a different name in the bank and a different name on the payroll, the system will say no. We run the system on NIPS. The BVN of everyone were checked. People that had duplicate accounts were done successfully. I can precisely tell you today the 10,000 police that were recruited, we have been paying them along with the one without asking federal government for an additional fund. As of today. So you see, the major thing is that we just appeal to police that have one complaint or the other. We have open decks. We want them, and most people we have been able to train all about 6 officers from each command, so that they can be able to generate the pay slip. Most of them that came around to make complaints, they saw that actually when they see their payroll, they see we have not done anything, no deduction. It's an open things. And I want to say precisely, the federal government in March 21st, in March, have approved 2, I think, software solutions to support the system, so that it will be able to accommodate, as I'm speaking with you now, and that is being done. And every MDA is going to be trained, and we know police are going to be trained to be able to do the job. They don't have to come to our office to do anything, but we have been able to give them view, so that whatever complaint they will be able to see. Most police that will come, they say, oh, I was receiving 85,000 naira before, I was receiving 140,000 naira before, but now why my money is now 134 or 120? The ones that are genuine, where companies salary structure is used for compos, we recognize it. Like those police that were captured, they were recruits in this training school. By the time they came out, the system captured them on copies, and when the complaint was done, they have been remitting those things on soft copies. So they were given on compos. The system is designed to accommodate over 30 different salary structures, which is on the IPPIS platform. There's nothing the police is any that other MDAs are not. We have medical doctors, we have pilots, we have captains. But the major challenges at the initial stage, they are bound to be all these challenges, and I can tell you precisely, police have been paid of recent. In the past, when it started, you will have seen a lot of complaints, people coming about. But with the help of the DIG and the police authority, we've been able to address all these major challenges.
I'm questioned about your personnel. Yes, sir. Kieran also talked about infrastructure. Now you're saying the federal government has given approval for some purchase of some additional software or otherwise. Your personnel, do you have enough personnel to man this? If you you now have a centralized system managing hundreds of thousands of persons on your payroll system. Do you have enough personnel?
Yes, we have.
For these human errors?
Yes, sir. We have enough personnel, because the essence of decentralization, you saw that the only thing that has not been done, because it has not been released to police, because all the MDAs we're talking about have a IPPIS desk officers that manages the IPPIS. The only thing is that we are in a position to view, because with the human resources, every MDA should manage their human resources, which we will compare with the payroll, so that where there is variance, we know something is amiss. And ordinarily, the MDAs are not in a position to employ at will without complying with the due process of government. As I'm speaking with you now, over 29,000 employees came on board with the exception of this government that were employed as a result of IPPIS, because they need to justify their personnel cost. So because they have what we call manpower, this thing, they have to fill it up, because they need the manpower needs. You know, you have establishment needs that you need to comply with. But in the past, they don't fill it up. But you see, the essence...
but the police doesn't have an IPPIS desk officer?
We have them in all the 42.
All the 42 they have
them, and at the headquarters too, we are equally involved. Can I use this opportunity to...
hold on a second, please.
Can I use this opportunity to react to two issues? He talk of payment of police was not paying National Housing Fund as statutorily mandated. No. You see, 2.5% of basic salary. That is the intent of the Act establishing NHF. With the coming to being of consolidated police salary structure, all allowances, including the basic salary, were consolidated. So that at a go, you will not know which one is basic, which one is housing, which one is rent, which you will know. Arising from this issue, police have to write to Salaries and Wages Commission. Look, salary is consolidated now. How do we charge 2.5% of basic salary? They replied us that we should continue to charge it on the old basic salary pending when that law is amended. So now they are charging on the entire consolidated. You know, it will give a difference. It will be higher than what is charged. That is the basis of him saying that police is not deducted. The law is there. It can be found, it can be checked, it can be... I'm not taking anything outside what is existing. It's there. Then you talk of you are paying salary of 10,000 police personnel recruited without asking for additional funds. How will he ask for additional funds? Police capture is 2018 budget with the inclusion of those 10,000 personnel. So you should straight away pay them without asking for funds. That is obvious. And that is what is existing.
All right, Kingsley, there's one pertinent question that you asked that have not been addressed, which is the issue of the continuous cutting of people's salaries and the inability to repay them when perhaps we might have corrected the anomaly that led to the initial cutting of the salary. So, or the deduction, mistaken deduction.
You see, this is what we're saying. Before now, I can precisely... The police, and in the course of capturing, I can 100% tell you, I don't see any police that came to the capturing center with their payslip. 100%, you can ask Nigerians, Nigerian can bear witness. We have police service commission that is there that will say this police is on grade level so and step so and so step. Which ordinarily, coming on IPPIS, every police officer will know their grade level and step. And they are entitled to their payslip at any point in time. And we have mandated those people that have active email, their payslip will be forwarded to them on their email. Yeah, for those that can do self-service, that one is already in the offing, so that even on your phone, you can access your payslip. The only thing we will still continue to say that those that have challenges, we are not, when the first salary was paid, we have 98.9% success rate. I think in any system, 98.9% success rate was recorded. The few percentage that have this thing, that have challenges, no matter what, they are human beings. We sympathize and we did all things possible with their cooperation. We use the police college, we use the MS to attend to all these things. I'm speaking with you now.
Mr. Olusegun, let's pause you in the meantime. It is important that you are addressing this and that you are also listening to the AIG of the police who is in charge of it. Because by the time you now include the military, you're going to have a much larger pie to deal with. And if you run into some of these challenges, you know, these are personnel and officers and men and officers who are, you know, in various formations, you know, sometimes in the firing line, at the front lines. If you are in Maiduguri and somebody is telling you that salary has not been paid, you come to Abuja to come and it will be a different story. I'm sure you know that.
No, they don't.
All right. No, just hold on a second, please. Let's bring in Shuaibu. Shuaibu Idris, you've listened to the teething issues that have been raised, and the responses to all of them. What is your take on this? Is there sufficient synergy, for instance, between the human resources departments in the MDAs and the IPPIS department in the Accountant General's office? Or are there things that need to be further streamlined so that some of these conflicting decisions or confusion do not continue to linger?
Kingsley, thank you very much for that question. I have, you know, 2 or 3 issues that I would like us to look at, and in particular the team from the IPPIS office. Number one, the process of data capturing as well as manpower capturing appears to lack some level of cohesion between the finance team and the human resource team, as well as the IPPIS team. Adioye did allude to the fact that when a staff comes in to be captured, before he or she leaves, he will look at the data and certify it to be okay before he goes. If that is the process, then there's a lacuna. I was a HR practitioner. There is no way I will allow my staff to certify the data that he or she will be paid without the input of me as the HR person. So obviously that synergy has to be improved. So the process needs to be improved. We mentioned about salary structures. Yes, you are on Oracle or using Oracle platform. If you have only 30 or about 30 different salary structures on Oracle platform, certainly this is too little and too few. You have 499 today that you have captured. I tell you, I've not been in government, but I look at what government does and what government practitioners do. The police have different salary structure. The prison service have different. The immigration, the road safety corps, even the universities have different salary. The only uniformity in salary structure is within the ministries. By the time you remove the ministries, we have 497 different MDAs that could have different salary structures. Then obviously 30 salary structures in the platform is too little. And it may not be as robust enough as it should be to capture all the data. If we are talking of challenges of short payment, then probably there are even overpayment that people have taken and nobody knows. We need to be careful on that. And I think it will be foolhardy for anybody to say this system is, disease protected. If the US system of electoral process, as high-tech as it is, could be hacked, IPPIS could also be hacked by predators. So we need to be careful.
All right, gentlemen, thank you.
Need to be careful.
Thank you for your contribution so far. I think we have raised the challenges this time around. It may be important for us to also look at what benefits that actually are accrued with the introduction of IPPIS. And we have also talked about the states, keen into that. If you take Kogi, for instance, where we've heard that there are ghost workers in the diaspora, where people are not working and they are being paid. Now, with respect to IPPIS, having been introduced for a while now, what are the benefits? Have we been able to benefit anything? With respect to corruption too, which of course was the main reason, why it was introduced. I'd like you to continue on this, Shoaib Idris.
Kiran, I will elaborate further because at the beginning we did allude to the 2 or 3 major or fundamental advantages. Number one, no two way about it. During Ungozi Okwenjuela's tenure, when she first introduced this, we were told that close to about 21,000 ghost workers were eliminated. That is a big kudos to IPPIS. When Kemi Adeosun came on board as finance minister, and she also expanded the implementation of IPPIS, again, certain number of personnel that were considered ghost workers or were identified as ghost workers were eliminated. Not to worry about it, IPPIS technology is a good thing to happen to us. Second major advantage, like I did say initially, is liquidity management. Mr. Olusegun did allude to the fact that 75 billion naira was saved. That could only have happened by the use of technology. Human beings may not have been able to do such savings. It's also a big advantage. Thirdly is not just the issue of the savings. The fact that the government of Nigeria no longer have to move money to other commercial banks, and this commercial bank will float on the money for a period and they now lend the money to the system again. It's also a big advantage because the nation has been able to save interest element that we would have had to pay if the office of the accountant general had to run to, say, a commercial bank or central bank to raise short-term loans for payment of salaries. These are some of the advantages. And last but not the least, the fact that at the touch of a button, every federal government employee could get paid on the same day wherever he or she may reside. It's also a major advantage, and I think there are quite a number of other advantages that we can continue to list.
All right, thank you very much, Shuaibu Idris. One of the tweets that we got talked about the poor response to complaints. Poor response or slow response to complaints. Why is that so?
I think we are proactive in terms of responding to complaints, and one of the things that IPPIS has done lately is to provide what we call customers relationship management suite. And today we have close to 10,000 complaints that have come, and what we do is the system is very robust in the sense that when you log in a complaint online, it's called helpdesk@ippis.gov.ng. so it's there online, and the police, BEN, and other MDAs are already using this platform to make that complaint. So they don't necessarily have to come to IPPIS. Those are technology driven. Once they log on the ticket, we give them a ticket number. And with that number, they can track their issue from the time they log it to the time it is resolved. They know who is dealing with their issue. And we communicate to them because you have something that you can track on. So
you have this benefit?
And also what we have is also...
Let the AIG respond to that.
Yes, of recent, they have trained some of our personnel in the 42 locations to be able to pay slip of police personnel. But what will have been the ideal situation is where individuals can have access to their pay slip from any platform, so that when we have this pay slip, it is easy to ascertain what type of problem is cutting their way, and then it can easily be solved. So the earlier they do that pay slip processing method, the better, and the complaint can easily be traced and addressed. So I encourage them to move to that.
You see, we can't exhaust this topic in this particular conversation. Perhaps we may have to convene again sometime in the future to look at this, so that we can also touch other aspects of the conversation. But for now, let's quickly run through contributions from Nigerians who are also watching. Dele Mejabi, I think he also
we'll skip that
earlier on. We could skip that one. He has spoken, and let's also go to Iyembe Demola. Okay, it hasn't even been implemented in universities yet. I wonder why. Okay.
All right, Amino Halero tweets. Now, IPPIS system is a welcome idea, the war against corruption, but unfortunately, some MDAs, especially the NPF, I believe that's the Nigerian Police Force, are always the victim of some challenges, such as payment of half salaries, and those promoted since 2016-17 are yet to receive their arrears.
Then he asked the question, is Nigeria in IPPIS?
No, that's from Eugene, Texas.
Yes, Eugene, Texas, yes. Is Nigeria in IPPIS? If yes, why are the staff of the same grade level experiencing salary differential of about 4,000 without any explanations from the agency?
And then we have this from Padaf DD. Good morning. So at the time of this tweet, civil defense are not being paid via the IPPIS platform. Please, I want to know the reason.
Now, Farouk Mortana, I completely align with the submission and contributions of guest Shuaibu Idris in this topic. He has called a spade a spade. It is unpatriotic for someone to be looting Nigeria's resources through ghost workers, whereas unemployment is ravaging Nigeria. May God bless Nigeria.
This is from Dele Mejabi again. That's the last one. It says alleged cases of IPPIS officers compromising their positions in various MDAs through wrong input of data, such as date of birth and date of appointment into the database, and the slow and inefficient operation of the IPPIS system. These are barriers towards wider public acceptance of technology. So those are the tweets we have. Let's take the closing thoughts very quickly of the director of the IPPIS office, Olufetin Olusegun. We said there are a number of institutions that are not on the system yet. The universities are yet to come. The polytechnics are yet to come. Perhaps colleges of education, and more importantly, as you said earlier, the military. So, how prepared are you to absorb these new entrants into the IPPIS platform?
Yeah, you know, for those people that started And I want to, based on the experience gained when police were captured on the field, that was taken into cognizance in the capture of the paramilitary. And I want to salute the Nigerian police for their support and for their understanding. And want to assure them that their case it's a priority. That's anytime we pay police, I am happy when I don't see complaints. But even yesterday, my people celebrated the click bottles and say, in fact, I've been seeing commendation of people thanking me. So you see, those are the kind of camaraderie we enjoy. And I hope as soon as possible, we assure you people will be able to get their payslip online.
How prepared are you to accommodate the new entrants?
The new entrants will be having time with them. We are prepared to accommodate them. We'll be having training. You who look at it, we'll be having sensitization prior to going to the field on newspaper, radios, which were not being done in the past.
All right. Thank you. Just before we sign off, just to point out that universities have been complaining, for instance, even about the TSA, which is not your business. It's TSA. So when you are bringing them IPPIS,
you have to just be sure for them. All right.
I think that's the much that we can take.
Exactly.
But I think the AIG is itching to say something.
Thank you for this opportunity. The Accountant General of the Federation actually saw the challenges of police, and personally, in June, decided to take over and be receiving source complaint directly from us before passing to them. And I can see a lot of improvement has come. And I want them to continue so that
there is synergy that is working at the moment.
Yes, let's continue. This case issue should be fast.
That's the most interesting thing. Thank you so much at this point. Time is beckoning on us to leave here, and at this point I'd like to thank Olusegun Olufente. I hope I got that name correctly. I keep battling with some names. Director, IPPIS Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. Thank you for being here. Thank you, sir. And Shoaibu Idris, the financial analyst and consultant. You have also been commended by some Nigerians who are watching for the way you handled this topic today. It's a pleasure having you today.
Thank you very much.
All right. And Abdul Salam AIG, the AIG in charge of accounts and budget Force Headquarters Abuja. It's been exciting listening to you. And of course, Cornelius Adeoye, a consultant on IPPIS. It's been interesting hearing from a professional of your cadre. Thank you indeed. Now, the next for us now is sports.
Super Eagles forward Kelechi Iheanacho